Now, take first concept of our chapter, chemical reaction. What is a chemical reaction, or what is a chemical change? So let us understand. So in class 9 we learned about or in the previous classes, lower classes, you learned already or you studied about physical changes and chemical changes. So examples for physical changes and examples for chemical changes. We observed many changes in our surroundings. Among them, they are classified as permanent changes, temporary changes, chemical changes, physical changes, so reversible changes, irreversible changes. So many changes are we observed in our surroundings. So we don't discuss anything about what are the changes we discuss. But let us take a simple note about chemical change and physical change. So let us understand first the physical change. So the process whereas a change in the physical properties without change in its composition. So if the change occurs, there is no change in the matter present in the substance or the composition, but change happened. We are able to see the change. The change happened in the physical properties only, not in a chemical properties, not in a chemical composition. For example, melting of ice. Melting of ice. So when we take a piece of ice cube from the fridge, we get the outside. So we observe that it changes from solid to liquid. Here a substance changes from solid state to liquid state only. Only physical state only change. There is no change in the chemical composition. Means either ice, the formula is H2O, either in the water which is a liquid form also water. When we further we give the liquid nothing but the water, it changes into water vapor. The water vapor also having the H2O. So three different states, one is solid, liquid and gases. In that the chemical composition is H2O. The chemical composition is H2O. Two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen will be present. Whatever the state is, either solid, liquid and gas. So but change happened here. What the change happened here? Solid. So it turns into water. So it is a liquid state and vapor. So gases. So either it is a solid state or the liquid state or the gaseous state. Its composition is H2O. H2O. There is no change in the chemical properties, but change happened in the physical properties. So this is a simple about what is a physical change. Then coming to the chemical change. A chemical change is a change of materials into another new materials with different properties, and one or more than new substances are formed. New substances are formed. So take for example, take one example. Take a paper and burn it. Take a paper and burn it, or take a piece of wood and burn it. So we know that when we burn the wood, so nothing but carbon is present. So burning of coal, for example, burning of coal, paper, wood, extra are the example for chemical change. So burning of coal is solid state. When we burn it, ash is powdered form is formed. But there is a change in chemical composition with the new properties. Similarly, as you study in class 8 and class 9, so some chemical reactions we discuss, simple chemical reactions. So among them, one carbon is reacts with oxygen, forms carbon dioxide. Or when magnesium, we take a piece of magnesium and burn So it reacts with oxygen. But combined with oxygen, it gives us magnesium oxide. So here, this is one substance and this is the one substance, this is one substance, this is the one substance. So, but a new product is obtained with the properties, with the various properties, the different properties. Carbon, oxygen. Right, magnesium is solid and it is oxygen gas. Two are combined and form the ash we can call as magnesium oxides. When compared with the properties of magnesium oxide, it differs from the properties of magnesium and the oxygen. Similarly, the properties of carbon dioxide differ from the properties of oxygen and carbon. And coming to the daily life examples for chemical change. So iron nail is left exposed to the humid atmosphere. When you place a piece of iron outside, after 2 or 3 days we observe that a brownish coating or brown layer is formed on it. So we can say that rust is formed. Rust is formed. So Fe2O3 we can say that. We will discuss it during oxidation reaction. Then another example, the grapes are get fermented. The milk turns into curd or curd turns into buttermilk. So whatever these changes have happened, change in the state as well as change in the composition happened. Those changes are called as chemical changes. So the chemical changes you can say to be a chemical reaction. So a chemical reaction is a process. Chemical reaction is a process where the substance chemically change into new substances. Or we can say to be chemical change or the chemical reaction. So some changes are happening in our surroundings. Some are the physical changes and some are the chemical changes. So here I hope you understood the difference between the physical change as well as the chemical change. So chemical change, new substance is formed, the new different properties are formed. In case of physical changes, no new substance is formed, but state of the matter is changed, but there is no change in the chemical composition. Whereas in a chemical change, there is a change in the chemical composition. So carbon dioxide, you said the carbon dioxide decomposes from the different properties. Similarly, magnesium and oxygen react together and combine together and forms magnesium oxide. The new product is formed with different properties. So curd, formation of curd. Right. So these are the some examples. Then to understand the chemical reaction, we have to represent with a equation. So the equation which is used to represent a chemical reaction or a chemical change, you can say to be a chemical reaction. It is said to be a chemical reaction. So let us write a chemical reaction. What are the steps you have to take while writing a chemical reaction? So chemical reaction or the chemical equation. Chemical equation. The second topic. Introduction is completed. Then let us write what is a chemical reaction. Chemical reaction completed or chemical change completed. Then let us understand writing a chemical equation. Writing a chemical equation for a chemical reaction. For a chemical reaction or chemical change. What steps you have, what rules and regulations you have to follow to write the chemical equations. So chemical equation is a mathematical representation. It is a mathematical representation of a chemical reaction reactions. For writing a chemical reaction, let us understand first we have to know the symbol or the formula of a particular substance. Symbol of the formula for a substance. So before writing a chemical equation for a chemical reaction, let us understand first of all what are the changes that happen when a chemical reaction takes place. So the first one is original substances lose their properties. Original substances lose their properties. So before going to discuss about a chemical reaction, so in a chemical reaction or a chemical change takes place. If a chemical reaction or chemical reaction takes place, the following are the changes takes place. So the first one is original substances lose their characteristics. Original substances lose its characteristics. Lose characteristics are the properties. New characteristics are the new products are obtained. So different physical states are different physical states and colors. So change in color happen, the change in state happen. The second one, sometimes maybe heat produced. Maybe heat is produced, or sometimes heat absorbs. So insoluble substances are formed. Insoluble substances are formed. Insoluble substances are formed. So these insoluble substances are called as the precipitates. They called precipitate. Then maybe a gas is ever. So these are the changes that happen in a chemical reaction or if a substance undergo a chemical change. Original substances lose characteristics. Maybe the color change, maybe the state change. One second one is maybe heat produced. Heat produced sometimes maybe heat also absorbed. Then insoluble substances are formed. Insoluble substances are formed and maybe a gas is evolved. So in the types of chemical reactions, while discussing about the types of chemical reactions, so we have to understand this. Really these changes are happened or not. So now then understand how to write a chemical equation for a chemical reaction. So chemical equation is a mathematical representation of a chemical reaction by using some forms or the symbols and whatever. Right, let us take how to write a chemical equation for the reaction. The first one is know what are the substances are involved in a chemical reaction. For that we have to write word equation in terms of, for example, already we discussed two examples. When carbon is reacts with oxygen forms carbon dioxide and magnesium reacts with oxygen forms magnesium oxide. In that take one example. So for example, reaction of carbon with oxygen. So first write in a word equation. Word equation. So carbon plus oxygen gives rise to carbon dioxide. what we have to do then, as we learn some symbols for some elements and others in class 9. So let us write in a simple form by using the formulas or the symbols or the elements. So here the substances which are undergoing chemical change or a chemical reaction you can call as. So these are called as reactants. And after the reaction a new product or the new substance is formed, that is called as product. In between the reactants and the products we use one arrow, you can call as that represents a new product which involves the direction of reaction. So the substances which are involved in chemical change are called as reactants. Then after the change, a new product, a new substance is formed, that is called as a product. So generally, a compound written by or an element is written by using a chemical formula or a symbol. As you know, the symbols for elements and the atoms, which are already studied, which are already learned in class 9. So after writing word equation, to simplify the chemical reaction, to understand the chemical reaction, so instead of writing a word equation, let us write in terms of by using a formula, a chemical formula, or a chemical formula or a symbol for the atoms or element. As you know, so carbon plus oxygen gives rise to carbon dioxide. So this is a chemical equation for the reaction between the carbon and oxygen. So word equation. So we are unable to write the word equation for every chemical reaction. To avoid such a problem by using the symbols or the chemical formulas. So let us write the equation for the chemical reaction. That is called as a carbon plus oxygen gives rise to carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide. So similarly, we are able to write many chemical reactions. So first of all, let us understand what are the substances are involved in chemical reaction, what symbols we have to use. So similarly, we are able to write many equations for chemical reactions, and we are able to understand that in coming topics. To make a chemical reaction or a chemical equation more informative. So let us discuss later after the topic balancing chemical equation. So word equation person, then what is chemical equation? So there are two on one is writing a chemical formula or writing a chemical equation for the chemical reaction. Then coming to the next topic is balance the chemical equation. Before going to discuss about the balance in the chemical equation, let us make chemical equation of the chemical reaction more informative. So I hope understand what is a chemical reaction and how to write a chemical equation by using the symbols and the formulas. So then, making a chemical reaction more informative. How do we make making a chemical equation or the reaction more informative? Right. How do we a chemical equations more informative. Chemical equations more informative. More informative. Each one will discuss types of chemical reaction, but let us understand how do we make a chemical equation more informative. In a chemical reaction made more informative by expressing the following characteristics on reactants and the products. As you know and as you understand that reactants are the substances which are involved in a chemical reaction. Products are the new substance formed after the chemical reaction. So, physical state, representing with the physical state. Representing with the physical state. Then, heat changes. Heat changes. Maybe the heat is liberated or maybe the heat is absorbed. Some chemical reactions, some heat is produced. In some chemical reaction, heat is required. Then, so what is represent the physical state? Either it is, if it is solid with the S, either if it is liquid with the L, either if it is gas with G. If it is aqueous solution with AQ, aqueous solution, if any substance dissolves in the water, it will form a resultant solution. The resultant solution we can say to be aqueous solution. Heat changes, heat absorbed or heat liberated. Then gas evolved. Gas evolved. If any chemical reaction, the gas is evolved, you can represent with the upward arrow. So, precipitate. Precipitate. See, if it is any insoluble substance is formed. If any insoluble substance is formed, the insoluble substance is called as a precipitate. The precipitate must be represented with a downward arrow. Or the reaction taking place under the special conditions, or also we have to represent in the chemical equation. So, for example, if the pressure is required, or if the heat is required, or any catalyst are required. Catalyst is a substance which doesn't involve in a chemical reaction, but it increases the rate of chemical reaction. So in higher studies, in this chapter also we will discuss what is meant by catalyst, and I will give some examples for the catalyst also. So for making a chemical equation more informative, these should be mentioned in every chemical equation. Simple example already we discussed. So carbon reacts with oxygen. So carbon dioxide is formed. So carbon is a solid component, then we have to write S. Oxygen are gas, and carbon dioxide also gas. So gas is evaluated, then represented with an arrow, upward arrow. So this is about more information regarding to chemical equation. So that's all for today's session. So we discussed the topics of the concepts involved in this chapter, chemical reactions and equations. Then we did discuss the introduction, means what is a chemical reaction, and how to write the equation for the chemical reactions, and how to make a chemical equation are more informative. And also discuss what are the physical change and what are the change. So the next we will discuss, and you will understand how to write balanced chemical equation, and why should we write a balanced chemical equation in the coming lessons. Thank you. So understand, I hope you understand. So if not, So please try to understand. If there any doubt, please write in the